clinical trial was conducted to test the effectiveness of a drug used for treating insomnia. After treatment with the drug, 15 subjects had a mean wake time of 90.3 minutes and a standard deviation of 44.2 minutes. Assume that the 15 sample values appear to be from a normally distributed population. Construct a 95% confidence interval to estimate the standard deviation of the wake times for a population. So we want to find the confidence interval to estimate the standard deviation. So let's go ahead and use StatCrunch. So to find the confidence interval for standard deviation, we have to use variance stat one sample with, here we only have the summary, we don't have the actual data with summary. So we're gonna have to work with variance. Let's enter all the information that we have. So our sample size is 15 and the mean of the sample is 90.3 and the standard deviation of the sample is 44.2. So the sample variance is not given, but if you take your sample standard deviation, which is 44.2, and raise it to the 2 power, it becomes variance. The sample size is 15, and we're performing a confidence interval for standard deviation, but in StatCrunch, we're going to do it for variance, and we're doing a 95%. So we have all the information. Let's click compute. So now we have the lower and upper limit for the confidence interval. But keep in mind, this confidence interval is for variance. But what we want is for standard deviation. So we're going to have to take the square root of the lower and upper limit to get rid of the square. So that way, the confidence interval is going to be for standard deviation. So I'm going to use the calculator to take the square root of the lower and upper limits. Okay, so let's do the lower limit first. So square root of 104.1693. And I'm not going to round, I'm going to round at the end. So this is what I get. That's the value for the lower limit. Round to 2 decimals, we get 32.36. Now let's find the upper limit value. So doing the same thing, we're going to take the square root of the upper limit. So the upper limit is 4,859.1741. And that is the value for the upper limit of the confidence interval. So we get 69.71 minutes. So don't forget to take the square root of the lower and upper values when you're trying to find the confidence interval for standard deviation, because StatCrunch finds it for the variance. Does the indicated whether the treatment is effective? So here we're only getting estimates for standard deviation. It doesn't tell us anything about effectiveness. I'm going to say no, the confidence interval does not indicate whether the treatment is effective.